Hello everyone, I'm Jay and welcome to my channel. Today we are talking how do you speak to the recruiters or employers once you start applying for the jobs, right? In the past episodes, I spoken about, from the journey of looking for a job, right? From finding the job titles to coming up with a CV, avoiding CV mistakes and applying for the job sites and, everything else. Please do go and watch those videos if you're looking for a job, especially for international students arriving in the UK or once you finished your master's in the UK, right? But today, so let's say you followed my advice or whoever's advice, but you started applying for the jobs and you started receiving the calls, right? So, well, I'll give you in a nutshell, right? You need to understand in order to receive the calls, right? Your CV needs to be match up with the job description for at least 60 to 70%, right? Then the recruiters will pick up the phone or employer will pick up the phone and ask you to come in for the interview, invite you for the interview, right? That's the essence of the, coming up with a good CV or avoiding the CV mistakes. And then also you need to understand what the employer is looking for or what the recruiter is looking for here, right? In the job description. But you can do that by reading the job description a few times, right? Once you do that, you understand, okay, what the keywords are and what they exactly they're looking for, what's the essential skill they're looking for, what's the desirable skills they're looking for, so on and so forth, right? So once you have that, you're ready, you applied for the job, you're receiving the calls. You need to understand your CV very, very well. You need to know, how you put it, right? Let's say you've been revising, you've been customizing your CV for each job. So it's good to know what CV did you apply with, and what's on the CV. You need to be able to speak about everything on your CV for at least a minute. If you put a certain skill, you need to speak about it, right? So now let's say the recruiter calls you or employer calls you, whoever it is. Just let's say a recruiter. So recruiter calls you, and when recruiter calls you, usually they're only going to ask you in two areas. They're only going to cover two topics or two areas, which are, one is the job description and the second is the CV, your CV you applied with. They're only going to ask about these two things, right? Nothing else. And also remember, when the recruiter calls you, this is not the interview. They are not going to interview you straight away, right? They're only going to ask you about your background, if you're the right fit for the role, and then your availability for the interview, da. We'll speak about that in a minute, but they are not going to interview you straight away. Most interviews are pre-organized. They call you or they email you, and they will organize a time, and then that's how the interviews happen, right? So the interviews could be either, in the past when I was applying for the job, I used to go on site. Everything was in person. That was years ago. But now, beauty of Zoom, Teams, and everything, you can do most interviews on video calls and some on site in person, right? So when the recruiter calls you, they're going to go through, right? Okay, are you available to talk? Yes, yes, yes. Why not? Right, da. Well, or take a minute if you're at a job, or if you're busy, give a minute and you can go somewhere and speak to them. And they usually say, okay, right, well, you applied for this role, and I'm just calling you to have a quick chat, discuss further. And they'll go through, they'll probably ask you a couple of questions on your background. So what have you been up to? So why do you think is this you're the right fit for this role? Why you applied? What's your availability? So on and so forth, right? So whatever you say it with confidence. Don't not overconfidence. Don't be anxious. Don't be nervous. If not this job, you will get some other job, right? um, I used to be very anxious. I used to be because I know I need this job desperately, right? So I'm like, when the recruiter calls, I used to be very anxious and think, right, what are they going to ask me? Oh, am I going to do okay? Am I going to answer well? Or so many things used to go in my head. But once I understood, when I was speaking to other people, I came to know that, as much as we need recruiters, as much as we need the job, recruiters need us more than we need them, right? So they only get paid when they place us. Obviously, they're looking for good candidates, right? So we both need each other. You just need to present your case better than everybody else, right? So they go through your background and they ask you questions. Maybe sometimes the employer might give them some screening questions, 3 or 4 screening questions, maybe technical related to job, just to avoid all the crap, and then only deal with the people with experience or skilled people, right? So, and again, in when they provide those, they usually provide the answers as well. So whatever you say, right or wrong, but say it with confidence, and hopefully you will go to the next level. Hopefully, if you've been following my advice, if you're preparing your CV very well, then if you know your CV, hopefully you'll answer those questions as well. That's not a problem. It's all basic questions, right? And then there is another area where they will ask you, okay, what's your availability for the interview? Before that, they might ask you about the big question, the big elephant in the room is, what's your visa situation, right? The way they will frame the question most of the time is, do you have right to work in the UK? This is a tricky question, and I get loads of people, stumble or stutter answering this question, right? Listen very carefully how I'm going to answer and what I'm going to say, how I used to answer as well. Back in the day when I was applying, we used to have similar situation. We used to have 2 years work visa after our masters, and so exactly same situation, and that's exactly what I would do today as well, right? Let's say recruiter. So do you have right to work in the UK? Yes, I do. What visa are you on? I'm on graduate work visa. How long is it valid for? It is valid for 2 years. What's going to happen after 2 years? I'm going to get an extension. At this point, most people will stop asking the questions about visa, but if they still go ahead, usually recruitment agents might do that because they know the visa situation more than employer, right? How do you get the extension? Well, I have a partner here or dependent on my partner, or I'm going to get a skilled worker visa, or you could say, I will do my best to be a valuable asset to the company so that the company can invest in my sponsorship visa, right? You can be creative. You don't have to say exact words. You can be creative. You can look for other options and whatnot, right? But at any point, I didn't provide more information than what they asked for. When I was helping people, they come to me, they say, Anna, they're asking me about visa. And I said, I only have 2-year visa, right? You're already giving them a chance to say, well, you're not the right person, so I need to go find somebody else, right? Answer the question carefully and provide the information only that's needed, not more, right? This is very, very important. And also, don't lie. Be smart. Don't lie, right? They might ask you, okay, well, if it's 2 years 2 years visa, how much do you have left? They might ask you that as well, and you may have 2 years left. You may have 1 year left. Again, you need to come up with a smart answer, right? If you have 1 year left, your chances are lower than somebody else who has 2 years left, right? So come up with something. Hey, I will add enough value to the business, or I'm happy for to contribute to whatever it costs to the company, contribute, and da 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 da. That won't happen at this stage, but in the interview it might happen, and you can do that. Anyway, I made another video about sponsorship visas. Please do go check it out, and it covers the whole visa situation. And then they might ask you, okay, when are you available for the interview? Right, okay. What I used to do is, all the in-person interviews, I used to ask for a 1 week lead time. So if they're calling on this Monday, and I would say, I'm available next Monday. Or any video calls at the time, very limited, but now 90% of them are video calls. I would take a couple of days, 3 days maybe. If they're calling you on Monday, I'm available on Thursday or Friday, So that you give yourself some time. And before that, they might ask you, okay, what's your notice period? Why are you leaving the current job? Again, we'll cover these topics in a separate video. But you can always say, well, my notice period is 4 weeks, which is standard. And why are you leaving? Well, better opportunities. If you put the experience already, if you're not working, you can always say, I'm not working right now. So that's good, right? Then relocation question. So are you willing to relocate? hopefully this is a remote job. If not, you may have to relocate, and they will ask you, yes, I can relocate. What I used to say, right, at the time, whenever somebody calls me, let's say they call me from Birmingham, and I would say, yeah, I have no issues relocating to Birmingham. One of my cousin lives there, so I can just go live with them for the time being. Same with any other city, I used to say. But I had friends in these cities, so I was just a bit more creative. So again, don't lie, but be smart, right? So that's about the relocation availability. We spoke. When are you available to start? They might say yes. You decided date and time. References is another big question I get all the time. Usually the recruiter might ask you for references, and you can go back and just say, hey, I will provide all the references you need as once the interview is confirmed. Remember, the references will be only checked when you are actually successful in the interview, when you're actually successful for the job. Once you get the job, they say, yeah, we would like to offer you conditional upon 2 satisfactory references. So then they will go and check those references. But until then, you don't need to provide the references. If the recruiter insists, you can always say, I'll provide them once the interview is confirmed. Or you can provide them straight away. It's totally up to you. That's what I used to do, right? Once the interview is confirmed, ask for a full copy of the job description, because most of the times once you apply for the job, they might be, once the closing date is finished, they might have taken the job offline. So you may not find the job description again. So when the interview is confirmed, so ask for the full copy of the job description so that you can put your CV and job description side by side and prepare for the interview. Again, what to do, we'll discuss in the next video. Please do like and subscribe so that you can see the next video. And email confirmation of the interview. In that confirmation, it should have who is interviewing you, where, how, the format, and all that. Whether it's a Zoom or on-site or da-da-da-da. If it's on-site, you can always ask the recruiter, is the employer willing to reimburse the travel expenses? Some employers do, some employers don't, but it's worth asking the question. They won't shoot you for asking the question, right? The worst that can happen is they say no, right? So that's it, right? The bottom line is be confident, right? Know your CV, know the job description. Even if you don't know the job description, know your CV inside out. Be confident. Don't be anxious. Don't be nervous. Visa question, puts lots of people on the back foot. Just prepare yourself before even the interviewer calls you. As soon as you start applying for these jobs, you should know your answers for some of these tricky questions. Then you will be flying. Anyway, in the next video, we are going to discuss so what's going to happen once the interview is confirmed. So what you're going to do in these 3 days or a week, how do you prepare and all that. Please do like and subscribe, and leave a comment below. How did you find this video, or what kind of content would you like to see? I'm, my area of expertise is, I have helped tens of people finding a job after their masters in the UK, especially international students. And, this is it. This channel is going to be dedicated for this particular area. So if you have any questions, you're just studying masters just now, if you're at uni, you're thinking about the jobs, or you finished your masters, you're applying for the jobs, you're not succeeding, or anything else, I will leave a link in the description below as well to get in touch with me. If you want to get in touch with me, please do so. I am mentoring a few people just now, and I have a room to take on a few more. So yeah, please do get in touch. Right, so that's it. Do like and subscribe, and all the best.